Kamala Harris's incredibly late entry to the 2024 race was designed to conceal the many flaws of one of the most incompetent and least talented politicians in Washington. A media-coordinated honeymoon period juxtaposed by nonstop negative Trump coverage had Kamala flying stronger than Trump as August moved into September. Once again, Kamala Harris was enjoying success that she never earned. Common theme in her life. A VP candidate once described on CNN as the worst choice Joe Biden ever made was cruising toward a victory in November. A compliant media helping the campaign shift Kamala from awkward, radical socialist to joyful moderate, seemingly overnight. We were all sitting here thinking, is it really this easy to become the president of the United States? Because it doesn't seem that easy, but it's looking easy right now. One thing we can all agree on is that the coronation of Kamala Harris was obnoxious. Kamala's appearance on the Call Her Daddy podcast over the weekend, hosted by abortion-obsessed young woman Alex Cooper, made for a moment that made Kamala look even more obnoxious.
I saw the governor of Arkansas said, "My kids keep me humble." Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble. How did that make you feel?
I don't think she understands that there are a whole lot of women out here who, one, are not aspiring to be humble.
A whole lot of women out here. Kamala trying to look like a baller on a podcast, as we're all supposed to pretend that she got where she is thanks to hard work and perseverance. The Kamala campaign doing what it does best this week, lifting Trump's playbook. They finally figured out that laughing and ignoring the media is not going to win an election. She's going to do The View tomorrow, and then Howard Stern, and then Stephen Colbert. It's a busy Tuesday. It's also the 3 biggest softball interviews you can get in a row. Her real test, though, comes tonight. Or aside from the debate, 60 Minutes, the only tough set of questions she's faced by herself since Nancy Pelosi pulled the plug on Joe Biden and Democrats coronated her, our 28% approval rated vice president, a couple months ago. 60 Minutes has released a few snippets of what we're going to see tonight, and there's more indications that our vice president has no business in her current job, let alone asking this country to make her the president. Here was Kamala on Benjamin Netanyahu ignoring the Biden administration and running the war in Israel the way he sees best. See if you can figure out exactly what she's trying to say here.
The work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
I guess she means we're making maybe some progress, like 3 words instead of 60, but whatever. On the economy, it didn't get much better. Kamala, the empty soundbite factory that she is, still has no actual plan to change anything in your country for the better, despite the fact that we need a lot of changes, other than handing out huge loads of cash to anyone who claims that they are going to start a small business, which is a gimmick, if implemented, that will be riddled with fraud, the same kind of fraud we just saw during COVID when we decided to hand out huge amounts of cash. Bill Whitaker, becoming joyful Kamala's killjoy, hitting her with the thing that pie-in-the-sky California socialists seem to hate the most, reality.
My plan is about saying that when you invest in small businesses, you invest in the middle class, and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
She had really no answer to that at all. The real world is hitting Kamala and her campaign right between the eyes. She is not a serious candidate. This has never really been a serious campaign. They gauged the public. They focus grouped her for about a week. They found out she's way too radical. They threw together a half-baked, moderate agenda they have no intention of implementing if they win. The good news is, though, it seems as though people are starting to see through it, as one of Kamala's media surrogates reported on Meet the Press on Sunday.
What I'm hearing from Democratic and Republican business people and a lot of men, and she's got such a big problem with men. I think there's an undercount of the Trump vote. I think there is misogynation in all of this, black and white men. Big problem, but also the business world. They don't think she is serious. They don't think she's a heavyweight.
miscegenation, or, this is just a terrible campaign, one or the other. It's quite a juxtaposition between Kamala and wide-eyed Tim Walz and Trump and Vance these days. The former president returned to Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday, the same exact location where he was shot 3 months ago. Elon Musk joined him, Musk revealing he's going to be spending heavily in Pennsylvania over the next month to secure what is by far the most critical state in this election. Musk sees this election as consequential to the future of the country. He raced up onto the stage, jumping all around behind Trump, the richest man on the earth, a South African, desperate to keep his new country free. Take a listen.
There's no truer test than courage under fire. So who do you want representing America? I think it's the most important election of our lifetime. This is no ordinary election. The other side wants to take away your freedom of speech. They want to take away your right to bear arms. They want to take away your right to vote effectively. Free speech is the bedrock of democracy. President Trump must win to preserve the Constitution. He must win to preserve democracy in America.
It's a good speech there. The Elon effect is certainly helping, and more people are seeing just how flaky Kamala's campaign is. Betting site Polymarket, arguably one of the best indicators, as real money always is a great indicator of reality. It has Trump shooting up a 9-point lead in the odds to win this election. 3 days ago, Polymarket was effectively tied, had Trump up about 1 point. And right on cue, the media Hail Marys another unfit for office onslaught from the New York Times, the New Republic, a couple other outlets as well, just as you'd expect. As Trump crisscrosses the country giving speeches and working harder and more intelligently than any 5 people in the mainstream press, they're still calling him unfit for office. Here he was on Saturday.
I've been on a mission to rescue our country from a failed and very corrupt political establishment. I will never quit. I will never bend. I will never break. I will never yield, not even in the face of death itself.
Big speech and a big night. Former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard joins us tonight to talk more about this. And thank you so much for coming on. Big media blitz for Kamala this week. The snippets that we have gotten to see from 60 Minutes, which is going to air later tonight, it really showed to me a campaign that hasn't figured it out yet. It hasn't improved much. And I wonder what you think explains that, because they've had a lot of time to figure this out.
They've had a lot of time. Thanks for having me on, Rob. First, I just want to say that we're all thinking of our friends and family in Florida here as Hurricane Milton approaches them. I just got back from North Carolina, where people there, as well as in 5 other states, are still reeling from Hurricane Helene, and just want people to know that we are there for them now, and what will be the aftermath of these hurricanes coming through. It's times like this that the need for strong and steady leadership is so highlighted. And it's unfortunate, as I heard from people when I was out there in these rural, isolated communities in North Carolina, how they feel left behind. Rob, almost to a person, people looked into my eyes and from the bottom of their heart said, please don't forget about us, because that's exactly how they feel right now, forgotten by the Harris-Biden administration, especially as they see headlines about how they're giving hundreds of millions of dollars to people in other countries and those who are experiencing humanitarian crises elsewhere, but are hearing like, hey, we're running out of money here, and people actually being turned down even for the $750 in aid and assistance that Kamala Harris stood there in Charlotte promising to them. So Kamala Harris has more than a media problem. There's a leadership problem where people in their time of most extreme need, their homes, their businesses, their livelihoods, literally swept away, wondering who's taking care of us, who has our back, and it's clear she doesn't.
If you can't figure out a campaign and figure out how to put together a few, well-versed policies that you can drum up in an interview, how do you expect people to believe that you can handle running the country? And it shows. It shows with everything that they have to handle. They consistently screw it up. They've screwed it up on every big issue, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's the Middle East and handling Iran, whether it's this hurricane, whether it's the economy and spending and blowing up your paycheck so it's not worth anything. I mean, over and over again, they've proven their incompetence, and now she's trying to run as this change candidate. The fact that they can't get her to figure out how to answer a few questions and handle a 60 Minutes interview is an indication that how are they ever going to be able to handle the real deal if Kamala's actually the president. I want to go a little bit into what we heard yesterday, this Call Her Daddy podcast, which was a total softball for her. Take a listen to this.
In the debate, former President Trump claimed that some states are executing babies after birth. Can you just clarify?
That is not happening anywhere in the United States. It is not happening, and it's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie.
So, this podcast is, hugely popular amongst coastal young women that are going to vote almost 100% based on abortion. But the fact that she brought that up, give her points for that. The fact that Kamala Harris claimed that is a lie is outrageous from what we've seen. I mean, we just had the proof a couple weeks ago when they showed the numbers from Tim Walz's own home state, where I think there was at least 5 of those instances in his state in just 1 year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think there are 8 or 9 other states where there have been documented examples of babies being born because of botched abortions. And President Trump was accurate in saying that whether they let those babies die while they were watching or they actually killed those babies that were alive even after a botched abortion attempt. It points out a couple of things to me, Rob. Number one is Kamala Harris and the Democratic elite, they really believe that the only issue that women voters care about in this country is abortion, when it's just simply not the case.
Right.
And the second thing is it points out just how extreme her policies are, is that essentially she and the Democrats celebrate abortion. They wore big abortion pins on their jackets during a State of the Union under President Biden with a heart in it. And secondly, they believe that abortion should be allowed to take place all the way up until the time of birth and after. Their policies and their positions reflect this. She must recognize a little bit how extreme this is, which is why she's trying to run away from it.
Yeah, I mean, this, again, this issue is tough for Republicans. They haven't handled it very well, in my opinion. I think even J.D. Vance has admitted that. I think most of the country is somewhere in the middle. It's just interesting to me how they keep pushing this very extreme agenda, and they won't even admit. I mean, this is barbaric. What they to a child is born and to leave it on the table until the child dies. I just can't believe it. And you brought up Hurricane Helene, and I just wanted to point out that your group has raised $330,000 for the relief. Your nonprofit, We Must Protect. And thank you for all the hard work there in North Carolina. We appreciate it.
Thanks. We've raised now, as of a few minutes ago, close to $400,000. Just generous hearts of Americans all across the country who are trying to chip in. I was in touch with Elon Musk earlier today. We're trying to help get more Starlink kits sent out to these volunteer fire departments in these rural communities, like the one you're seeing there in Chimney Rock, where the volunteer fire departments, all they really got. Any sense of emergency response has been very much overwhelmed. Access is difficult. Some of these communities can still only be accessed by helicopter or horseback. So we're dedicating every penny that's given to provide that direct support to those who need it the most and who aren't getting what they need yet.
Yeah. Trump and yourself and Elon Musk showing kind of, a different way of handling a crisis, a more effective way of handling a crisis in a lot of ways. Thank you, Tulsi. We appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thanks so much, Rob.